Hello, this is Rick Ellis with Max Profit Estimator. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to do a quick overview on how this system works and how it can benefit you at your print shop. I'm excited about this because I've been able to create quotes in 2 or 3 minutes or less. When you really get used to this thing and get plugged in, you'll be doing the quotes in about 1.5 minutes, 3 quantities, and you're just going to find it fantastic and it helps you out. So let's get started. Today we're just going to quote like a simple 3-part form invoice, just to keep it simple with a little bit of bindery in there, maybe some numbering and padding. Just an easy quote just to show you how the system works. The first thing you do is to get started is you'll always want to check right here under new customer. Let's just see if they're already in the system. If you are to set up a new customer each and every time, it just keeps building accounts over here. So let's check it right here first. In this case, we're going to do a test quote. Look at that. I've already got it in the system. How about that? It fills in automatically all of that information. So tab 1 is customer information. That's pretty self-explanatory. So let's hit next step and go to tab 2, which is the job. This is a brief overview. It's the job description, it's the size of the paper stock, and the quantities that you want to use. So in this case, we've chose to quote an invoice. So we'll name this project invoice. It's an 8.5 by 11. And then we enter our quantities right here. Now this is important. This area right here, this is so important, so you guys have got to tune in right here. If you're quoting sheets, you put in the total number of sheets. If you're quoting sets, NCR sets, you put in the total number of NCR sets. And if you're quoting pads, you put in the total number of pads, like it's 10, 20, or 30 pads, whatever the case may be. And we're also going to show you that this will quote odd quantities, which I talk about in the ebook. It's mistake number 3, odd quantities. You have to quote every single quantity. You just don't give this stuff away anymore, folks. You've got to take that into account. So let's just keep it simple. Let's quote 250, 500, and it automatically duplicates to 1,000. But for the sake of doing some weird number, let's put in 721 sets. We're going to hit next step, which takes us to tab number 3, paper. The overview on this is you're going to select your paper, your PMS colors, the number of sides it prints, colors on each side, how many sheets per set, how many up you're going to run it. So in this case, we're quoting a 3-part form. So I'm just, for a shortcut here, we can put in 3-part. So we're going to quote 3-part 8.5 by 11. We're going to select that. Single-sided, no back. Right here, look at me, right here. This is where you put in the number of sheets, single sheets, the number of sheets per pad, or the number of sheets per NCR set. This is important. So we're running a 3-part set. We're going to run it 1 up, and we're going to run it in reflex blue. Let's hit next step and go to tab 4, printing. The overview on this is total number of plates, your wash-up fees, and what machine you're actually going to print this on. So we have 1 plate, 1 wash-up, and we're going to select our machine here, and we're going to run this on the Ryobi 1 color. Let's hit next step and go over to outsource. In this particular instance, we're not going to outsource this job, but tab number 5 is where you can set up your vendors. Let's say you have a bindery shop in town or some other company that you use quite often. Maybe it's another large printer that you use that sometimes you have to outsource the job to. You enter them here, and then you can put in your markup for that vendor, and we'll talk about that later, but that's done over here in the back office portion of this program. So in this case, we don't need to use it on this quote. So let's hit next step, and we're going to go to the bindery tab. The overview on the bindery tab is this lists everything that you're going to do to this job. You've got your quantities here, as you can see. So we're going to pad this. So let's put in padding, because we're quoting that invoice, remember. So it's not chipboard padding, it's NCR padding. These are all already in the system. So we're going to select 8.5 by 11 3-part. By the way, you can override the pricing that's already comes with the system and make it your own, because each market around the country is different. Now let's talk about padding and bindery. A lot of times we give this some of this stuff away. We cannot do that anymore. It has to stop today. I talk about this in the ebook. It's mistake number 5. We basically are giving this stuff away on these odd quantities, or somebody comes in, you just run back and make a cut for them real quick on your cutter. You've got to quit doing that. This is where you're leaving so much money on the table. We've got to overcome that. Charge for everything you do. So we have the padding. We're also going to number this invoice. So we can come up here and we can search for numbering. There it is. Total numbers. This you have to manually put in, because occasionally you'll have a job that numbers in more than one place. So you have to charge for that. If you number it in 2 places, you need to be charging for that. Let's hit next step and go to packaging. Let's talk a little bit about packaging. The overview on this is the way you complete the job, whether you put it in a box, shrink wrap it in brown craft paper. Regardless of how you finish it, you have to charge for that. That's money that we have always left on the table, me included. I talk about packaging in my ebook. It's mistake number 6. We just throw it in a brand new box that costs us a couple bucks and we send it out the door. Well, that's just $2 you lost on that job. And if you're sending out 10 or 20 orders a day, it adds up quickly. So in this case, we'll do shrink wrapping, 8.5 by 11, and we'll put about 250 or so in a package. So this one's going to be, and I'm just guessing without doing the math real quick, 2, 3, and let's just say 4 packages. Keep in mind, we're still doing this odd quantity up here. Next step is labor. Let's talk about labor for just a moment. A lot of times we don't charge that 5 minutes for graphic design, or there could be some other fees involved. So the way I have this set up is graphic design per minute. So we can select that, and let's say we have 10 minutes of graphic design. You've got to charge for that. A lot of times we give that away. We got to stop doing that. Charge for it. Charge for everything. You'll be surprised how much more money you'll make at the end of the week. All right, let's hit next step. Tab number 9. This is other. This tab summary talks about the job difficulty. Not every job is just normal. Sometimes they're a little more difficult, a little more ink coverage, or it could be a variety of things. So you have the option here to select moderate, difficult, or very difficult, and you can set up these percentages of markups over here in the back office portion. So in this case, this is just normal, so we'll leave it at that. It also gives you the option to discount it if you need to discount the job. If you know they're getting 3 or 4 bids on it from around town and you want to just throw in a 5% or a 10%, you can do that. Also gives you the delivery date option. So you can select the 30th or whatever the case may be. Also down here we have fees. You can set up delivery fees, you can set up rush fees, whatever you want to do. You just kind of make it your own. It's your shop, you make the rules. Next step, tab number 10. This is your job quote. This gives a complete breakdown of everything we just put into this quote. So you can see 250 sets of 3-part invoices, padded and numbered, is $226, or a unit cost of 90 cents a form. 500 is $308, or 62 cents a form. And 721, that odd number, is $381 or 53 cents. Now let's go on down the form here and let's see what how it breaks out. It gives you your total paper cost. It gives your total amount of sheets that you used. It gives your printing cost. We ran it on the Ryobi, which we selected, one color, $40 make ready, 3 cents a unit cost. Let's back up and talk about make ready for just a second. Make ready fees is where you, the printer, make the majority of your money. For years and years and years, I didn't have a make ready fee, and it cost me dearly. Now with a make ready fee, it's mistake number 4 in my ebook. You have to charge a make ready. Sometimes I get asked, what is a make ready fee? A make ready fee basically is what you're going to charge somebody when you walk up to any machine in your shop and turn that sucker on. You have got to come up with a minimum cost. On my Ryobi one color here, for example, I have a $40 setup fee. It's going to cost $40 to print off one sheet of paper. That way you are covering yourself for your time and materials and labor to get all of that set up. We also have some other fees in here, and you can set these in the back office. Your plate cost, your machine, your wash up fees for your ink color changes. That is all time that is spent by your employee or yourself to get that press cleaned up and run that job for that customer and then clean it back up again. This has a breakdown of your total bindery. It's got your padding, and you'll see make ready fees on every item in here. Once you start charging make ready fees, you're going to see your profits go through the roof. Also, when you're through with this quote, if you select finalize quote, that will email it to your client, the email address that you put in tab number 1. If you choose not to email it, you can leave that blank. That's fine. However, once you finalize this quote, you cannot reopen this quote. You'll have to duplicate the quote and change it. For example, if the customer says, well, I'd like to take out the number, and that's not really necessary. If you don't finalize the quote, you can go back into the bindery portion and you can X out of that. Another nice feature here is you can print this off, and you file it away. When they call you back, which they will, then you can pull it back up. You can go off the quote number. In this case, the job quote number is 3676. You pull it back up, you can easily find it, and you can make any modification to it you need. So that's a brief overview. It's very important, though, that you really take heed and listen to the 7 mistakes that printers make. We've all made them. So just a very quick overview as I close out this intro video. Mistake number 1, you've got to quote your jobs every 90 days. Paper costs change, everything changes so fast. Your labor rates change. Quote every 90 days. If you let it go over 90 days, there's a good chance that you're going to lose money on that because paper's gone up or whatever, and you're not aware of that. Mistake number 2, consistent quotes. The max profit estimating system will give you a consistent quote every single time, and you can also train your employees to operate this system. You can train somebody in 3 to 5 minutes. It's that simple to use. Mistake number 3 is odd quantities. In this case, we quoted 721 sets of 3-part, which is a very odd number and most likely will never happen. We just did that in this video to show you that it'll quote the odd quantities and it'll be consistent right down to the penny. Mistake number 4, which we touched on, is the make-ready fees. You've got to charge these make-ready fees. You have to charge the make-ready fees. If you don't do that, you are leaving so much money on the table, and they don't have to be that expensive. You can set it up for whatever your own market, wherever you live, will allow. Mistake number 5 is bindery and not charging for every little thing we do to these jobs. That is absolutely a must. You have to charge for everything you do to that job. Again, you're leaving money on the table. Mistake number 6 we touched on is packaging. Charge for your boxes, Charge for your wrapping. You're paying for those items. You're paying for somebody to take care of it, wrap it, box it, whatever. Also, we could say shipping. Make sure you're covering yourself on shipping costs. And I would always add about 10% to it because of the time it takes to do it. Mistake number 7, and this is probably one of the most important, is a quick response. You have to get back to that customer within 20-30 minutes. If you do not do that, they've moved on down the road, they've called somebody else. And what I have found out in the last several years of being in the printing business, if you can't get back quick, you just lost that job to somebody else down the street. So I hope this video is informative. I hope that you can learn from it, and thank you for taking a look at it, and we'll talk to you soon.